If you're a regular to the channel, then you'll know, alongside too many other things, I'm quite interested in old aircraft and avionics, which is the aircraft electronics. I think it probably stemmed from a love of these things when I was a kid. You know what these are, right? Foam airplanes. This is a whole month of fun in the 1990s. And I've amassed a modest collection of things from across the years. Of course, you'll know the freeway indicator from the mechanical GIF project. And I've also shown you some of these other gauges and switches from cockpits. This is a Morse code key used by the RAF, and you can see it's a trainer one because the code is cast into the bakelite as a reference. This thing, Trocatron, whatever that is, made by ETL, that's Ericsson, the same people who made Decatrons. This comes out of a Vulcan bomber, so if you know what that's for, comment below, I'd like to know. Some very nice Airlight 62s that used to belong to Flight Lieutenant Porter, and quite a few other things. There's a whole video on Patreon if you want to have a look at some of these things in more detail. But of course, the coolest things are the dials for the cockpit. This is a pretty cool one, made by Sangmo Western for the Up The Gyroscope company. I believe it used to be in a Provost jet, and another one here which similarly is a zero reader flight director indicator. Don't know exactly what that does in the cockpit. I don't know how to fly a plane, but they look cool, don't they? Even better though, these two bad boys up here, some horizon indicators, and those indicate your attitude in the plane. And the reason they're so cool is they've got this moving ball inside that spins around and shows you which way is up and down. And you'll see from the markings on this one that there are gyroscopes inside, which can only be a good thing. If you want to buy airworthy versions of these, you're looking at thousands and thousands of pounds. They're seriously expensive, and you know, for good reason really. You want to be able to tell with reliability which way up your plane is. But once they're no longer airworthy, they're really kind of useless to pretty much everybody except a nutter who has a collection of old airplane parts. So I got these for 20 quid a piece. Well, you know me, I'm not really one to just leave something on a shelf. I want to try and do something with it. So I think to start off with, let's open this one up and have a look at what's inside, see how it works maybe, and well, them gyroscopes, maybe they still work. Let's have a look. Now, I would temper your expectations a little bit, because when this one came to me, it was in the worst packaging that I've ever seen for an eBay item, and it's obviously sustained a fair few knocks. It's got a big old dent in the back here. You can also hear, yeah, there's some stuff moving around inside there, so there's something loose. Hopefully that's not critical. And if you were wondering, the pull to cage, what it does is just resets it, but it's not completely working right now. See, on this one, where you push, it actually zeroes it on the horizon, whereas there's only zeroing it on one axis on this one, so there's obviously something wrong. There's various ways to get into these things. Most of them have a solder seal of some type, so they have a thin strip of metal that has been literally sealed around with solder. And luckily, I think this one, I think someone's been into it before, so it's not so difficult to get off. Normal way is that you get a blowtorch out. Well, if you saw that short of me trying to solder with a blowtorch, you know that I shouldn't be let anywhere near a blowtorch. But I think we should be able to just unpeel it. We're in. I think we're being prevented pulling it all out the front by this nut, and it's got a tag on the back here to prove that it's not been opened and tampered with. I think in some cases they pull low pressure atmosphere inside some of these cases, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and snip this. Okay, let's see if it all slides out. Oh, okay, we're in. Oh wow. Oh, what just dropped out there? There's the thing that's rattling round inside. Oh dear, that looks like a bearing, doesn't it? Well, look at that, how cool is that? And then there is the actual gyroscope, the different gimbals. Oh wow. Gimbals are the different rings on the gyroscope, by the way. Some move this way, then the others move this way. I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly what I'm looking at, but that is some beautiful looking mechanics. I mean, just the cast chassis alone is amazing. How the hell did they make that? So we can see the effects of our pull to cage. It goes through this big long rod right to the back, and then there you go. Okay, so it's pretty obvious where our missing bearing is meant to be, and there's also a little plate that came out with 4 holes in, you can see registers with the end of these 4 screws. If I spin it round and you can look on the other side, yeah, that's what it's meant to look like. And in the packaging, when this came, I found some screw heads. So that's what's happened. The screw heads have somehow sheared off the bolts. That's not good, is it? And it's some little M1 bolts. I don't have any of those, but I think I can figure out a way around it, because I reckon that it doesn't need all 4 to hold it in. I can nick 2 from this side and then put them into this one. Now, it's a bit worrying that it's sheared its bolts. Maybe that's an indication of an underlying issue, but we can only find out by spinning it up. And you'll see there's some electrical wipers that have been bent out of the way. That's to transfer power to the motor inside this, which spins it around. Some of these are actually spun pneumatically, which is amazing. And you can see some more electrical wipers on the back here at the end of this shaft. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. Here we got a little servo that actuates this little warning flag. When there's a loss of power, you know not to trust the instrument. You'll see down in here there are actually some lamps in there, some bulbs, so that's going to be really cool if we can get all this lit up. I'm assuming also that these wires here and the flexible PCB across here are going into a couple of lamps inside the front of this as well. And on the back here we can see some electronics, and written on the back of our case it says that it takes in 28 volts DC. Well, I've done some tracing of the wiring and it looks to me as if the bulbs are getting a separate power supply through the pins on the Bendix connector on the back. Guessing that they run off like 5 volts, so we're going to try and power those up first. I would like to just look in the manual to this and actually find out really what it should be, but I can't find it anywhere, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of guesswork. Okay, so I'm going to turn my power supply on and then just very slowly bring up the voltage. Let's give this a go. Oh, it's actually lighting up. Wow, that is amazing. That is so cool. I don't want to push my luck by going up too high a voltage. What are we on at the moment? We're on 5 volts. Okay, I reckon it's a 5 volter. Well, in the process of moving those wipers back, they just snapped off really easily. So I've got to make my own wipers now. Well, it's an absolute bodge job, but I think it might do the trick. I've used a metal contact from a relay and the leg off of a diode. So I've done a bit more scouting around for service manuals and stuff, but it seems they only give them to you if you're a registered avionics engineer. So they ain't gonna let an idiot like me have those. I've got to deduce which one of these pins to send power into. And from what I've read about other ones, the motors normally run off of 3-phase, about 400 hertz. So there is an inverter to convert that DC into the AC. So now I've got to go through the process of reverse engineering this to find out which pin to send the power into. And I don't really know anything about inverters or 3-phase power, so wish me luck. Well, you can see here on the back of the Bendix connector where our pins come into. These two, the orange and white, there are lamp power, and then you've got 3 other ones. This brown lead here tests with the continuity meter as the chassis ground. Now there's a red one and a black one. Surely that's positive and negative, but you know, you should never just assume stuff. So I'm gonna trace them, see where they go to, if that makes sense, but I reckon that's it. Okay, well, I made myself some better connectors for those pins, and well, there's only really one way to find out, isn't there? I am 80% sure that these are the correct pins. If I blow it up, well, it might be spectacular on film at least. And I should say at this point that this is actually quite dangerous, spinning up these things when you don't know if they're going to work proper, especially if you're an idiot like me who doesn't even know what they should look like when they're right. I've bodged the bearings on this, and some of these run at about 24,000 RPM, so I mean, if this goes wrong and something flies off, you could be in serious trouble. But having said that, let's power it on. I can hear something happening. You can hear it. But yeah, not spinning up fully to speed. So surely that's just an indication of undervoltage. I did expect this to work at 18 volts. Maybe it does need the full 28. That's a good sign though that it's making noises. Okay, I'm using a little step-up transformer to get the 28 volts out now. Let's Give it a go. Okay, well, we've got progress. When I put the power up, there you go, the little flag goes off. Alright, I solved the problem. You remember earlier we did our janky repair on that wiper? Well, it's just a bad electrical connection. If I push the diode leg in with the screwdriver... Oh, here we go. I think I've sorted it. I think the bearings are a bit fucked. It's making a lot of noise. Eventually, it spins fast enough that it gets stable. So there's definitely something not quite right with it. I don't know if it's just the bearings being a bit dodgy, but it's now up at a speed where if I tilt it, it stays level. How cool is that? Ooh, not sounding very good though, are they? Whoa! Now check this out, so if I move the ball here, left to right, it induces back and forth motion in the gyro. You can induce it to spin by imparting some momentum on it. Yeah, well, we got some precessing of this gyro, to say the least. It's well, you see, if I let it go out of control, it just starts tumbling. There you go. That's just, I think, because it's not getting up to the correct speed, and you know that's most likely because of the bearings are knackered. I mean, you can hear them pretty well. They're pretty in bad state. So I'm guessing that's why this became non-airworthy, probably amongst other reasons. Well, you may have noticed that this ball is not working in this axis, and that's because seemingly the mechanical linkage through here to the gyro has been broken somehow. So what normally happens is when this moves this way, you can see the gear on the side of it there, that indexes with this gear down here, moves them like that, and then it goes through a shaft, this shaft here, and then goes into this gear, which then comes round and spins this one, moving it this way. But somehow those have become uncoupled. I did try to investigate, took this off to try and get the ball out, but I mean it's going to be a massive faff. So I think not for today. But there are those two little bulbs there, one there and one here. So if you enjoyed that and you want to see me try and spin up the other one, well, please feel free to come and join up on Patreon. There's all sorts of bonus material from all the videos on there, updates on what I'm doing, and those people get to see all the videos first and get exclusive downloads and all sorts of other good stuff. So I hope to see you over there. It would really support the channel. You find me on Instagram where I'm putting up regular updates, and there's a load of shop links below that you can check out the Eurorack synthesizer modules that I make, and I even make a range of electronics prototyping tools.